You don't know what ghetto style means by now.
All right, after a false start, we're good to go. A little behind the scenes is that this is Three Brothers Talking. That's not behind the scenes. That's in front of the
on
scenes.
the scenes.
That is the scene. Three Brothers Talking, where me, David, Andrew, and Jeremy hang out and talk about life. So I'm David.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Jeremy.
And behind the scenes, what happened is we had a bit of a false start because we're we're still recording remotely. Although right now it's mainly because we're kind of busy, not so much due to anything else, because we're allowed out of our houses now. So the main reason is that we're recording this we have to use our phones to do that. And I just started instead of starting the recording on my end, I just started a timer, which if you know anything about clocks and timers, they don't actually record sound. So that's the false start, but we're starting now.
Have you ever done that like with like alarms and stuff?
I have just done that in that I literally just did that. So yes.
Yeah, but like when you instead of like setting an alarm for the morning, you just like you're so out of it that you just like you set like a what's it called? A stopwatch thing or whatever through the other app. Because it's all part of the same thing, the clock app on the iPhone. So
yeah. I haven't done that, but maybe that's something I'll do whenever I have my kid and I'll be that tired.
Whenever you're sleep deprived, maybe. Yeah.
Don't worry, you won't really need an alarm clock because you'll probably just wake up on your own at the same time, whether they're awake or not. It's just the way it works.
See,
well, and your body like is trained to just like at their sound of crying, like you're gonna wake up regardless. They're gonna be loud enough to wake you. So
yep,
yeah,
that's true.
My question that I want to start off the podcast with, and it's a deep question, and it's an important one, is are we basically just mom bloggers at this point? Is that what we are as a podcast?
What makes you say we're mom bloggers? Yeah. What's a mom blogger? I guess is the real question.
Like a mommy blogger is
you should probably ask our wives what they think about that.
They probably know better than we do.
Yeah.
Well, like, so a mommy blogger, here's my understanding of one. I can't say I follow any, or frequent any's. So,
liar.
Well, I just thought of this today because I thought, well, we talk about parenting a lot. And then I thought about the fact that there's this whole thing where like these moms just spend so much time blogging about being a mom, but normally, and
it's
in itself
big business at this point.
Exactly, it's big business. Blogging about being a mom, by the way, not a bad thing.
No,
the big business part is like cheesy, but the part that is like the caricature I have in my mind is how there's like a lot of complaining about how hard it is all the time to be a mom and like how kids are like such a hassle.
Yeah.
And just a whole sort of like inspiration that like culture, that like thing. Well, just that like online social media mixture of like fake inspiration plus blogging plus thing that happens.
Well,
it just,
I think it's gotten huge with the TikToks and with the meme industry and all that, like that too, that like it is kind of like this feeling of camaraderie where like just like the parenting stuff that's put out there with like the funny memes and TikToks and all that are just like they go so viral and stuff, and they might not be all that applicable to your situation and your children and all that. And like, I don't have any complaints about parenting my children, but it is like funny situations that you can either you have experienced them once or twice in parenting, or you could see that happening. And that's why it's like just so huge. And I don't know, moms eat it up. I know that.
See, when I think of mommy bloggers, I think of just scores of women that have shirts that say like, first coffee, then wine.
Yeah.
And that's like their favorite shirt.
All that type of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, like wine o'clock, in the morning. Yeah.
Well, I think too, you have the fact of social media has basically merged everything together. Like
Yeah.
between your influencers, your TikToks, your Instagrams, everything is one thing, and your advertising and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So your mom blog is almost synonymous with everything else you're doing without you really necessarily doing anything about it.
Well, and the part that gets under my skin is like how we just so want to, we just all want to be celebrities, you know?
Yeah.
And so it just, I don't know. If you Google mommy blog and stuff like that, you'll find, to me, it's just cheesy. I just don't like it.
So
I just find
are
it
we
funny
a mommy
how-
blog?
I don't think we are. Yes.
Well, I
I
have a
just find
beard,
it funny
so I
how,
can't be a
like,
mom.
so
yet.
many people like they follow like these Instagram like what they call influencers, which are just mommy bloggers.
They're just
basically.
people. Yeah, they're just other people.
And like they're like idolizing their posts and all this, and like it's just like you have to see them all, and I'm just like. I'm like, yeah, these are normal people. Like this is a person with a family of 4, and like, you know, they see this, you know.
Isn't
it's
it
just
an
funny to me.
interesting? It's an interesting sort of phenomenon that if somebody gets 500, I don't know, 1,000 followers on like Instagram, and they start making long Instagram posts. You know, they start leaving these huge captions on their posts. And then they start to touch on a political thing or a cultural thing or a parenting thing. All of a sudden, it's like there's just a feeling that we generate of like we should like listen to that person. Yeah, and it's like no, they're just a person that happened to get they're just a person that happened to get 1,000 followers. They don't.
Yep.
They're just because
they're the expert because everyone follows them.
People reach out to
That's
them
how
for
you become a
product
leader.
placement.
yeah, and now they're going to reach out for product placement. Which, by the way, we here at the pod are free and open for product placement.
Open segue there. Yeah.
The problem might be that almost none of us post anything on social media of any kind.
I've actually been on social media for like almost 3 weeks now. It's great.
And we would not qualify any of us as actual influencers.
I influence people. I influenced Micah. I influenced him today to
There you
go
go.
to the potty.
There you go.
I tried. He didn't really do it.
Do it correctly.
Yeah, he did not really listen. My influence is not as strong as I would like.
How many days are you on the potty training?
Day 2. Faith's doing great. I
This
couldn't
is
do what
it.
she
We're
does.
mommy bloggers now talking about
No,
body
that's all
training.
we're gonna say about it because we're dad bloggers. Because I don't know what happens on the daily, but Faith's doing a good job.
Yeah,
doing the potty.
Well, your wife is a good influencer, and your son probably also considers her an influencer, but he might not consider you one. You know, so that's the problem. He's got to consider. You really. That's the whole. I'm gonna write a book for millennials about parenting. Millennials and Gen Zers, and it's going to be like the parental influencer is the title or something like that. There.
Sounds pretty good.
All right. Put that on the list of good ideas.
Yep.
I wrote it down right next to David's funny joke that one time he wrote.
So
David had a funny joke today.
That was just a dilemma that I think needed to be solved. But no, we're not that. Although we do talk about, basically we talk about marriage and parenting a lot because those are both really important things. But we also talk about just being a man, being a Christian, being a person. And
we are those.
Yeah, and Jeremy, the other piece of news is that Jeremy is really, really taking on the persona of like a mountain man.
So I've decided to take, like before Micah was born, I had a pretty good beard and the long hair.
But not like
I
this.
don't have the long hair as much, but I have the longer beard now.
And let's just say it looks way better with only one of those things being long.
I must say it's pretty great. That's all I'll say about it. I'm a fan of it. My wife is
I haven't asked
gracious.
you how long have you been, like, you have not trimmed in how long?
I trim underneath my neck and get like right here.
But
I
as far
clean
as
it up.
getting
But otherwise,
additional length,
I don't even know. I mean, it's been at least since my birthday, so at least 2 months.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now everybody knows what month your birthday is in.
Yeah, that way I get presents, David.
Oh, okay.
See, I'm expanding my network as an influencer.
There you go.
So that way everyone will know my birthday posts.
Hey, we might be getting to influencer levels if if Jeremy can really take on like a persona
Guys,
here.
let's be honest. I would be the worst influencer. If any of us in this room, I would be the worst one because I still care.
I have been told I'm a bad influence before. Does that count?
Well, we tell you that all the time, but it's nothing personal. You just need to mature.
I don't know. Andrew could be a pretty good mommy blogger if he wanted to.
I think if any of us would do it, it'd be Andrew would be the mom blog.
I don't know. I call out Kaylee's when she does dabble into some of those waters. I'm quick to nip it in the butt.
Wait, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by dabble?
It's just a person.
Well, like, yeah, I was like, well, when she's sharing like all the viral stuff that reaches and all that, and I'm just like, yeah, I quick to cut that off as far as not really entertaining to me.
Yeah. That's not really my jam either. But so tonight we're not going to talk. Well, we might talk about parenting or husbandry, being a husband. I don't really know. I know that my piece of the conversation is not about that. But tonight, or whenever you're listening to this, for us, it's tonight.
Could be in the morning on your way to work.
Could be in the morning. Could be, 2 a.m. and you're potty training and it's not going well. And so your
kid's crying.
You're listening
you need to listen to something.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about just basically we each have a thing that we've been learning or kind of feeling challenged about digging in through lately. So I have no clue what either of you guys are going to say. So we'll see what happens.
Mine's just my beard. So,
You're just learning about beard upkeep and yeah.
No, that's not it.
Well,
who wants to go first?
I think you should go first because of that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. I think one of the things that I've been encouraged by lately.
One of the things. He's got multiple. Oh, boy.
I have a few. I think not to go too far into the mommy blogger thing. I think I've realized more and more, and this is not a mom blog thing, but the influence that I think church and just being steady and going to church has on kids. Mm-hmm. Like a few weeks ago, we had that Mike actually I had the opportunity to stay home. I was already at church and he was adamant that my wife couldn't go. Maddie was sleeping.
And you were serving.
And I was serving, so I had to come home and get him. But he was adamant he wanted to go to church to hear about Jesus. So that was very encouraging as a dad.
That's
and
awesome.
All the hard work my wife is doing, and the rest of our family is doing to instill that, and our church does. It's just that constant thing of saying God does amazing things with faithfulness, more so than I know I do as a dad, if that makes sense. That's been one of the big encouraging things to me.
Just to piggyback off of that one, because that was something else that I was going to kind of hit on too.
Goodness. We've done it already.
With the cool thing with Lincoln, as far as with last week, they had just, as far as, obviously Lincoln is only 2 years old, so you don't know how much is actually going in one ear and actually being retained. And he's just bouncing, he's just bouncing off the walls. And
if you just look at Lincoln, you would think 0%.
Yeah.
Because
he's running around. Yeah, he's running around. He's doing crazy things. But yet, we, on the drive home from our parents' house last Sunday, we were like, what did you talk about at church? Because Kaylee was the helper this past week with him down in kids ministry. And we said he learned about Jesus and who Jesus was baptized was. And he shouted out right away that it was by John, and we call him John the Baptist. And just those little facts of the lessons and all that, yes, they are kids' lessons and they come with videos and stuff like that, but stuff is actually being retained
by a 2-year-old
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's cool.
But go on, Jeremy. Yeah.
Does Jeremy want to go back to Jeremy? Or do we want to move on? Do we just swivel around? Because I've only got one. I brought one to the table.
I have one more.
I brought one. That's all I've got.
I have more. I'll be right back, though.
All right.
You guys keep talking.
All right. David, if you want to go.
All right. So that's a bummer because I think Jeremy would have something to say about this, but he'll be right back. It'll be fine.
We'll try to carry on.
We'll try to carry on. This is the pleasure of a live radio, Ange. This is what it is, live recorded
radio that we're recording
in advance. Yes. My thing, I'm reading through the book of Proverbs. A handy thing that I have found throughout the years is like, 1 month I'll read the book of Proverbs, like one chapter a day, because there's 30 chapters in it, and that matches up pretty well with most months. And then the off months of that, I'll read another book. If I'm not reading through the whole Bible at a time, that's kind of what I do. So I'm reading through Proverbs this month, and Proverbs 14 is not where I'm at today, because we're recording this on the 16th. But Proverbs 14 is where I was at the other day. And in Proverbs 14, verse 14, it says, "The backslider in heart will be filled with the fruit of his ways, and a good man will be filled with the fruit of his ways." And Proverbs there, like it always is, it's often so simple and so straightforward. But just the night before, Rachel and I were at dinner, and we were talking about, I was talking to her about the fact that I felt like it's easy for me to be frustrated or angry in my own head, not let it out of my mouth, and think I've done a good job. Or even to go so far as to like tell somebody off, like that kind of stuff happen in your head. But and I would just think, as long as I keep it, not coming out from outside my mouth, or as long as it only comes out with like a certain groups of people, then it's not a big deal. And I was talking to Rachel about it, and I just said, I just think God wants me to be rid of that, especially with the baby on the way. Because we all know that the struggles that our parents have, we often have. We often inherit things, and we inherit their habits. And this verse talks about the backslider in heart. He doesn't talk about the backslider in actions. He talks about the backslider in heart will have reaping and sowing. And it's just sunk into me more and more of like, where is your heart actually in a good place? Or are you just good at like pausing these things at the last minute? But it's like what the Pharisees heard all the time of like, the outside is nice and clean, but the inside, I know the words you said under your breath. I know the words, I know what you thought. I know the anger that you just kept under the surface, things like that. And so I don't want that. I don't want my life to be full of the fruit of that. And so I've got to start. We have to, if we want to be victorious over sin and backsliding, we don't merely just want to say, all right, I'll stop it at the last possible minute. I'll give sin all this ground, and then I'll stop it at the last minute and it'll be fine. And I think it just pressed into me of like, no, and especially with the kid coming on the way, it's like, if you don't want your children to deal with anger or things like that, then actually get rid of the habit at the heart level. There you go.
That reminds me of I was listening to a sermon by Doug Wilson about bitterness and how he discusses bitterness. Because if you can't think of anyone, just think of the person you like basically don't want to talk to you, or the person you have pretend conversations with in your own head. And he goes, and that's probably the person you're bitter towards. I was like, that just reminded me of that statement.
That's good.
Because we don't necessarily go to the person about bitterness, or we need forgiveness or work things out. We just have the conversation in our head, and we think that we're being self-controlled, quote unquote, or just prudent in the way we're speaking and not letting our anger fully develop. And that's something I get at David fully. Something I struggle with too. And you sit there and say, no, I don't want my anger to fester, because even the smallest fester. I think, and over this year with everything going on, we've been big on don't give anyone an inch, they'll take a mile. And it's like, well, we do that with the sin in our own mind, in our own lives.
Well, have we had any reasons at all to get frustrated by in the last year?
Well, these have been unprecedented times.
We are struggling with a new normal. Yeah. There's another one. Oh, shoot. This last weekend, my wife and I discovered another phrase. The other one we don't like is out of an abundance of caution.
Yeah. Oh, that's bad. That sounds way worse than the other one.
It's probably my most favorite, because it's the most like accurate. It's the most accurate, but it's another one of those buzz phrases now.
Yeah.
Sorry, Andrew. Go. Were you going to say something?
No, I mean, yeah, that just gets down to the true heart condition. There is what you're getting at, really.
Mhm.
The thing that I had thought about.
Hold on 1 second. I was going to plug something because a while back,
Influencing.
a long time ago, on Jeremy's back porch, Jeremy and I recorded an episode about venting. And I'll link to that in the show notes. This is a long time ago.
It's probably like episode 2 or 3.
But I feel like a lot of what we just said talks about that same idea of like, we call it venting, but it's actually anger and bitterness. And yes, you can't just stuff, like the answer to this is not just stuffing it down, but the answer is not just venting it, because I think what we don't realize is when we vent, we're also kind of creating habits of letting it out. We're letting it fester. We need to actually like deal with it and not just stuff it and not just let it out when we feel like it's okay to let it out. We need to actually deal with it. So anyway, listen to that episode. It's a long time ago. So
Did we even put that one out, or is that one that we didn't?
it went out, I think. Boy, it would be weird if it didn't, huh?
Wouldn't be surprised.
I guess we'll find out.
I guess we will. People can't find it or can find it.
Yeah. If I can't find it. Take it away, Andrew.
Oh no, mine was kind of a quick one, I guess, that really this past week I have been rereading through Hebrews. And so the one that it was just last week that I got through Hebrews 13. And just the one that sticks out, and I think obviously is very speaking into the time that we are at today, is really just in Hebrews 13, where we go through, basically a whole bunch of basically actions that are pleasing to God is kind of the summary.
Yeah.
Where he's talking about let brotherly love continue. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers. Remember those in prison, and talking about marriage. And then he basically summarizes that up in Hebrews 13:8, where he says Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like just the one phrase that really has stuck with me over the last week, that I've been trying to, obviously through this whole year, I think, is just holding on to that in the midst of, obviously we talk about frustrations and like things that changes that we've seen happen, and trying to stay positive and hold true and to continue to root out and battle sin, like we're talking about, because no matter what happens in these circumstances, that one statement has remained true. And it's still just as encouraging in a pandemic year that it is in all throughout history.
Yeah.
So
I actually was listening, a plug for the podcast Sound of Sanity. Pretty good podcast. Nice little podcast in that it's pretty big. So it's actually way bigger than ours, but that's no big deal. Nice little podcast. And they actually just did an episode on the Equality Act. That's what it's called. Not to get too political. We're not going to get political.
Yeah.
But they did an episode about it, and they talked about, there are some concerns that people ought to have with it.
Yeah.
But one of the things he said in the end, and I forget what exact verse this is. I think it's in Timothy. If one of you can try to look it up while I'm talking, that'd be great. But it's the verse where Paul tells, I think Timothy, but it could be elsewhere. He tells him to live a quiet life. He basically says, be concerned with yourself, live a quiet life, serve other people. And the guy just said at the end of the day, he said, what do we need to do in light of a culture or a confusing world?
First Timothy 2:2.
Okay.
I believe, is talking about for kings and all, for all
Yeah, like
who are in authority, that we may lead a quiet life, or quiet and peaceful life in all
Yes.
godliness and honesty.
That's one. And then the other one that I think comes to mind is where it talks about working with your hands. Like it says to not be anxious, not to be a busybody, to work with your hands and like basically just be a person, like be a good person, be a good Christian. And all that to say, like what you're talking about, Andrew, like in the midst of confusing things or frustrating things or worrisome things, God's recipe, like that was originally written to people under persecution. His recipe for them, that they were living under Roman occupation and persecution. His recipe for them was not to do anything that magnificent. It was to work with their hands and be good citizens. Like it was extraordinarily normal. And that is how God wants to turn the world upside down. Like he does it in these tiny ways. He does it as you're faithful with your family, as you raise up your kids, as they then are used by God in the next generation. He does it in these little insignificant ways as one neighbor tells one other neighbor about Christ, and that other neighbor comes to Christ, and just one by one, the gospel goes forth. And the whole time Jesus is the same yesterday and today and forever. And so that's why we can keep doing what we're doing without fear.
Yeah. And that's why he's getting at that. I mean, even before that verse, like he's basically calling out and he's saying, Hebrews 13:1 is let brotherly love continue. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers. Remember those who are in prison. Let marriage be held in honor. Keep your life free from the love of money, so on and so forth. And basically, it was just an encouragement to those, like so many that like got through this whole we've just passed a year through this time.
Happy anniversary.
Like how much of our, how much of life, like life should not have been put on hold in the face of a pandemic. And the calling for Christians remains the same as, Christ's recipe all throughout history. And like you're getting at there, David, like, so our calling, and our Christian obedience does not change in the same way that Christ does not change. Yeah. That was just my encouragement, over this past time, and just trying to think of like, okay, thinking back over the past year now, trying to analyze like, okay, was I still effective? Was I, were there areas that, things did like maybe get put on the back burner, or things, can I look at things differently now? Is kind of just my thoughts, but.
Yeah, I love, the other verse is 1 Thessalonians 4:11. And I love the phrasing of the New King James. It says, he's talking to the Thessalonians and he says in verse 9, concerning brotherly love, you have no need that I should write to you, for you yourselves are taught by God to love one another. And then it says in verse 10, we urge you, brethren, that you increase more and more. Verse 11, that you also aspire to lead a quiet life, to mind your own business, and to work with your own hands as we commanded you, that you may walk properly toward those on the outside, and that you may lack nothing. I think it's funny that it says you mind your own business, but it's that same thing of like Paul telling these Christians, not in an ideal circumstance. They were in a situation where basically Roman officials, if they felt like it, could persecute them. And if they didn't feel like it, then they wouldn't.
Then they got left alone a little bit.
Yeah. And so what he says is be honest, be loving, be a servant, be a good worker, be a good neighbor, trust that God will take care of you, and watch what happens. And I mean, we know with certainty the gospel wasn't hampered for even a second. Yeah. And that is something that we ought to just, we as the American church can be very pessimistic.
And looking back this year, we know the gospel was not hampered by even a second.
It wasn't. Yeah. And so God is, whether God is shaking, I mean, this goes to another thing in Hebrews, whether God is shaking or building, he's always building the kingdom. So either way, it's growing. But that's pretty post mill. That's for the book cast that Jeremy and I do sometimes. So, but yeah, no, I like that. I like that a lot. Jeremy, you got another one?
Yeah, I was going to say one of the things that's been encouraging. Last weekend, I got to hang out with a friend, Jared, which is or 2 weeks ago, working on my house. And we went between houses and Home Depot and stuff. And I just was encouraged to be with someone I don't get to see as often as I would like. But just, it's good to have friends, I guess, and encouragement
doing mad
stay
things
with friends.
Home renovations.
Yeah, I got to learn a little bit more about PVC plumbing, which I plan on finishing something myself.
There you go.
Got to do a tub insert. We have a working shower now. So all the while, Jared's like the most helpful guy I know.
That he is.
He's great.
He's also
like just a heck of a lot of fun to be with.
Out.
And he's
Shout
the first sponsor of this podcast.
He's the first business partner we had.
The first,
with a bottle of bourbon.
That's right.
Hey,
It was a nice bottle. It was a nice bottle.
Yeah.
So
it was good. Every time I see it on like a TV show, I'm like, hey, I've had that. I'm so cool. So yeah, that was something that was super encouraging to me over the past week. Just getting able to pick up where we left off as friends, just enjoy each other's company and talk and have fun, swing some hammers and stuff like that.
Swing some hammers. I like it. Yeah.
Well, I think it goes back to what you had said about men doing stuff with their hands and building things too. I think that's something that I've been encouraged to do more and trying to step out a little bit more and say a little bit out of our comfort zones. And as men, just to build something physically and I guess not physically, like just build something for the kingdom, whatever that looks like in our neighborhoods. Like my wife made cinnamon rolls the other day and gave them to our neighbors, which they were fantastic, by the way.
Well,
maybe you guys will get some sometime.
Any. Yeah, what in the
she
world?
gave some those all to our neighbors. So, but it was cool.
Well,
her doing that and getting to play with our neighbors and stuff. So.
Sounds cool for them. I mean,
yeah, it was cool for them. Maybe you should have moved into our neighborhood. There's a house for sale.
Faith has said, well, I brought this up with her and she was just like, well, they asked like if I was making them. And I said, yeah, sure. And I was like, well, like
I'm asking
so
now.
All I have to do is ask. Like, okay. Like
not all you have to do. I
ask.
ask for things all the time. Like cinnamon rolls.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah. All I have to do is ask. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And they just show up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you guys got anything else going on? If not, we have a nice little tidy episode for people, which is unusual.
It's pretty nice little tidy.
We're basically on the year anniversary of this whole starting of the whole lockdown kind of thing starting. So
I thought you meant the podcast, and I was going to say,
I'm like, we're past here. No, today was one of the people I listened to had a 1 year anniversary of 15 days of flatten the curve was today.
Yeah.
Curve's flat, guys. So. We did it.
We did it. We all did our part.
Hopefully we're coming out. Kaylee's going to be back at school full time here after spring break.
It's exciting.
A lot of the schools in Ohio are going that route. So hopefully
Texas Rangers going that route.
Way to go, Texas Rangers. Wait, what are they doing? I don't even know.
They're doing 100% occupancy for their opening day.
See, here's the thing about baseball. Even like opening day is not always packed.
It's not that big.
Yeah.
Unless you're in Cincinnati where it's like a holiday. So baseball is like the perfect sport because all their regular season games operate at like 15 to 25% capacity anyway.
Yeah.
So perfect.
You can say you're allowing full fans, but like most of those games are like matinee, afternoon, midweek games that maybe have 5,000 people there anyway.
Perfect.
David, the Bears have a new quarterback. I know you're excited.
The Bears have picked up, and if you don't care about the NFL, it may be time to turn off this episode. But before you do that, share this episode with somebody, because as we said before,
and then tell them to turn it off at this point.
Maybe they're an NFL fan; they'll keep listening.
Yeah,
maybe. The thing is about the fact that none of us are mom bloggers or influencers is that we don't even post our episodes on social media most of the time. And that's kind of on me.
You just gotta go find them.
That was like a me thing. That was a me thing. And I'm sick of social media completely. And so So that just means we rely on people, one-to-one. You like the episode, just send the link to a friend who might listen to it.
Peer-to-peer.
Yeah, peer-to-peer.
P2P.
Word of
blockchain.
mouth.
B2B, business to
Viral, grassroots, guerrilla, all those things.
Brick and mortar.
Hashtag.
I'm just saying.
and mortar.
terms.
Brick and mortar. Yeah. So if you could just share this with somebody, that would be pretty awesome because that's how we get around. So with that, we will say maybe we'll end the episode, and then after the music here, we'll come back talking about what Jeremy just brought up. How's that sound? So Andrew, I need you to take care of this for us. Do you think we did all right?
I think it's been a while, but I think it was good.
Well,
Yeah.
then I think we did all right, and we will see you guys next time. And now some time has passed. No, keep recording. Start up a new one.
Oh yeah, I didn't stop it.
Yeah, we're keeping
still
rolling.
going.
Andrew's got to re-record.
This is we're like a Marvel movie now. This is like a Marvel movie.
This is end
All
credits.
right, I'm back.
This is
we
like
need 3 end credit scenes.
This is like a bonus episode
you guys are gonna
within
have
the main one.
You guys are gonna have 10 seconds above me.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
All right.
Now Andy Dalton's gonna be
The Red
Bears'
Rifle.
starting quarterback.
The ginger snap.
NFL free agency the last couple days has been insane.
I was really hoping we'd get Russell Wilson.
Were you really thinking that would happen though?
No, I guess I was just hoping this. Either we get Russell Wilson or we draft high. Those things have to happen.
Well,
Or we get
I've got good
Derek
news.
Carr and
I've
still
got good
draft
news
high.
for you because neither of those things are going to happen.
I know
Yeah.
neither of those things are going to happen. We're going to be stuck with Andy Dalton as our starting quarterback.
But did you guys just see that that Tyrod just before this Tyrod Taylor signed in Houston?
Really?
Yeah,
Where's Watson
on a
going to go?
one-year deal. So
That
maybe
seems like a backup meal.
maybe they're
deal.
preparing as an emergency, backup, just in case Watson decides to sit out or something.
How ironic would it be if Watson went to the Bears? If the Bears could have drafted
He
him.
got I think
Or if he goes to the Bears after they sign Dalton.
Yeah. So did Dalton just got a 1-year deal, right?
1 year.
1 year for
13
$10 million.
Oh, yeah. 10,
Okay.
13
and then,
million.
Yeah,
10 guaranteed, yeah.
Tyrod signed in Houston a 1 year, 12 million or something. Yeah.
Really? Then the Bears got a deal on Dalton.
Yeah.
I don't think Dalton's a bad pick for $10 million. Honestly,
Oh,
you could
no.
do worse as a backup.
That's not that
if-
expensive.
But
If you're paying $12 million for Tyrod Taylor or Tyrod, I've heard it both ways.
Yeah.
And I don't know which
I've
one
heard
is
it both
right.
ways.
So Tyrod, if you're listening,
He's a big fan of the show, I think.
I'm going to call you
confirm.
Tyrod.
Him and Dalton.
Tyrod feels like right for me. So I'm going to say
I
that.
say Ty.
If you're
I say
listening,
Tyrod.
tell us how to
You would.
pronounce your name.
I
So-
emphasize.
Tyrod.
To road.
That's not it. So
We know that.
Tyrod, if you're paying $12 million for him, then a $10 million deal with 3 more million in incentives for Andy Dalton feels like an amazing deal. To me.
I don't think it's a
'Cause
bad
he is-
deal by any stretch.
I would
for
say
him.
Andy
I think
Dalton
he's actually
is-
a serviceable quarterback.
Also-
I'd say Andy Dalton's a starter and Tyrod is not. So
What is?
Yeah, I agree.
What is going on? Did you guys see
Sorry,
the?
Tyrod.
Did you guys see the Taysom Hill deal? Taysom
What in
Hill
the world?
deal?
yeah,
No, what did he get?
He got 4 years, $140 million, but
To stay with the Saints?
every single year
Oh my
is
gosh.
voidable.
yeah.
So
He can void it.
I don't understand. That's where I need someone that understands contract law with how you can so if you signed a contract that's voidable at any time by the team, then is it even a contract?
Mhm.
No.
Legally, they can get out of it at any time. They can cancel. So what do you actually have there?
And at the same time, Jameis Winston signs
Yeah,
1 year.
he got a 1
Listen
year.
to this. Listen to this paragraph and tell me what it means at the end of it. A 1 year, $5.5 million deal pays him a base salary of $1 million. The $4.5 million signing bonus was prorated out over 3 years, with 2 voidable years tacked on to the end of his deal. Winston
So-
will count $2.5 million against the cap.
So he gets the 1.5 as his salary for this year.
Okay.
The signing bonus he gets currently
Now.
He's guaranteed it
he
over
gets
that
it,
time frame.
but they can do that language so they can spread that cap hit over the 3 years, even though it's
Okay,
paid
yeah.
now. And then
I-
they can void it out if he's no good after this year.
Guys,
He's
we
done.
should be sports
Does
agents.
void mean cut?
Yeah, like
Well, I guess they wouldn't cut him because it's a one-year deal.
They wouldn't know him anything. Yeah,
But they
just
already
say
paid
void,
him.
like bankruptcy.
Man, I need another drink, I think, if I'm going to handle all this. This is insane.
I'm gonna get a bush latte.
do you guys
I
see
think.
that?
A bush latte.
So think about yesterday. So Patriots are reloading big time. They
Yeah.
literally in a single day in new salary commitments. Bill Belichick and Bob Kraft have handed out over $280 million in
Ooh.
new salary commitments to free agents in a single day. Where like they signed that Judon from the Ravens, they signed Hunter Henry, they signed
Oh, they got Hunter Henry.
they signed
I was
Nelson,
hoping the Bengals
Nelson
would get him.
Aguilar, they signed I don't know who else. They have they literally have like 10 free agents that they brought in.
Here's the thing, though. They still have Cam Newton.
Yeah, and they brought him back.
I found the problem.
Yeah.
I found your issue.
Yeah, and that's nothing personal against Cam Newton. I think his body's broken. Like, I think he's worn down. So
he never transitioned well to the pocket power presence you need to get when you get older.
Well,
like Big Ben went out of that movement.
in Cam isn't the same as Russell Wilson or other mobile quarterbacks. Like other mobile
Taysom
quarterbacks,
Hill.
yeah, like they run, but they still avoid hits. Like Russell Wilson is
Yeah.
sliding, and even Lamar Jackson is sliding. He's getting out of the way. He's running out of bounds. Cam Newton
or he
is
just
like a
can't catch
fullback.
him.
Yeah, Cam Newton is like
Cam
a
Newton's
fullback.
like, I'm going to lower my shoulder.
Yeah, he was like Tim Tebow, right? Where like Tim Tebow
Timmy
wasn't
T.
going to run around.
He's
Even in
very
college,
very hard to bring down. Yeah.
even in college, Tebow couldn't run around anybody. He had to just run through people. And that's what Cam Newton had to do in the pros. And he had to get that shoulder surgery. And I just don't think he's got it anymore.
I don't think he's got it. I was hoping he might, just for his sake, be able to come back and change his game after the surgery.
It'd be pretty
I
cool.
mean, I would have been fine if the Bears would have actually got him back then as a backup. They could have signed him for cheap, but he was not worth the money.
And he's not going to be a backup. He likes
No, he would never have been that.
Cam Newton,
which is why
just
they
like
didn't
Kanye.
go for it.
Cam Newton likes himself some Cam Newton.
You guys think Carson Wentz can revitalize his career in Indy?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think Frank Reich
Yeah, I
is a
think
really
he-
good coach. So
I think if anywhere he could do it, it would be Indy.
I
honestly,
I was like, I want to see him actually.
I think they could do well
See
there.
if he can,
Unless you go to Tampa and sit
Problem
behind
is,
Brady for a
you
year.
look at his last year, and he did not look good. Like some
No.
of
No.
some of his decisions with the ball where
it looked like Cam Newton.
Yeah. So
He was Cam
hopefully-
adjacent. And Cam had an
I'm just
injury.
glad.
Yeah.
He was just
I'm just glad
bad.
the Bears didn't get him. I was worried that the Bears were
Hopefully
going to pick him up.
hopefully he gets back somewhat to himself. I don't know.
Well, my team has a quarterback, and my team's quarterback will still be playing after this year. Sorry, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
his last year
we've
for Big
already
Ben.
got rid of 2 free agents from the Steelers that
Yeah.
have went and signed elsewhere.
But at least my team won't be wearing their normal, horrible, awful uniforms anymore, and they're getting new ones. So
Have they released
I'm happy
those?
about that. They got leaked. They haven't been officially released yet. But if you Google
Yeah.
Bengals jersey leak, they're kind of plain.
looking
They're
at
kind of
it.
plain. But if you think about what they have now, plain is very good.
The
So
and the
there's
Steel-
just
Steelers are
the,
probably going to be the last place in that division.
we'll see. It'll be our 2 teams competing for that. I think so.
I think Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be gone. They're
Juju, he's kind of annoying. Goodness.
Yeah, they already got rid of Bud Dupree. They already got rid of
He's good.
their best cornerback signed elsewhere. So
We'll see. Bud Dupree is going to be a loss. We'll see if TJ Watt can still be a star without Bud Dupree on the other side. But-
yeah,
Well, Jeremy, you're looking at the jerseys. Give a quick verdict before we sign off.
They look a little more highlighter orange in the jersey, if I'm honest.
Even more neon than before.
They look a little more neon-y
I
on the
hope-
top.
I
They
hope
do
not.
look plain. They look more like the 90s. They don't have that weird white thing on the side, which
Yes.
I'm glad about.
You know what that was supposed to be? It was supposed to be the underbelly of a tiger is white, and that's what that was
That's
supposed
stupid.
to convey.
Makes sense.
That's stupid.
It doesn't make
Just
any
make it say it's a white stripe. That's
It's-
fine. Just say we don't need to make any more than
So,
that. Say it was a bad idea.
My last thought on the jersey, basically the jerseys, if you haven't seen them, are either black with the same stripes that are on a Bengals helmet, black with
Yeah.
either orange of those on the shoulder, or orange with black stripes on the shoulder, and that's literally it. Like, that's it. We got your number, we got the stripes, boom.
Which I'm fine with. I think they work. I think they work. They look more like they had in the 90s and all that stuff.
And they look more like their color rush jerseys, which are their best jerseys.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
well, with that,
They're better. That's an improvement.
they're better, and just like us, I think they did all right.
I think they end
we
well.
Did it again.
Ah,
We did it. We
did it.
circled back around. So we can all stop recording now, I think. What do you guys think? We do it?
I'm
we wrap it
ending.
up? Yep. All right. Then we'll again
now.
see you next time.